Morning ladies, and welcome to a suspiciously tidy corner of my sitting room. I thought I'd try doing video today, seeing as you're missing out on the actual demos in class, and sure, what else would we be doing at the moment? So look, I'll give it a go. It's not something I've done before, and it's not going to be up to Jenny's standards or anything like that, but hopefully it'll be interesting. Sure, it'll give you a laugh anyway. And for today's project, I'm going to do something a little bit different in that it doesn't really have a pattern as such. It's a technique that I use an awful lot in my own work when I'm commissioned to do things for people. And it's inspired by a couple of things, because obviously we had Mother's Day yesterday, so belated Happy Mother's Day to all the people it was relevant to. But we also on Friday had the spring equinox, and I'm very into equinoxes, particularly the spring equinox, because it means that after Friday there's more daylight than darkness in the year, and I think the climatologists use it as the first day of spring. I mean, I know here we've had the first day of spring since the 1st of February and St. Bridget and all that, but I think for some calculations the spring equinox is the 1st of spring. And I'm going to show you a piece that I made 6 months ago almost exactly, when the autumn equinox was on the cards, and it showcases 2 or 3 different techniques that I use an awful lot in my own work, and I think we could make a nice square or two for the sampler quilt based on that. So if I zoom in a little bit, hopefully you'll be able to see that there's a few different techniques going on here. We have stripes of fabric in the background. We have some appliqued circles, and then we have an appliqued piece which is itself made up of little scrappy bits of patchwork. So we're going to try and incorporate those 3 into what we do today, and hopefully we'll come up with a classroom full of unique and beautiful squares. So first things first, we need to get an idea, and I've done a few little practice squares because we're looking for a square shape, just spaces to do my sketching in. And hopefully I'll get something out of these that I can then scale up to use for the full 12.5-inch square. So I don't need to go into too much detail at this stage. I can just sort of rough out any idea that I might have. So looking at the original one, there was a hint of planetary curve that I liked, and that might get very wide at the front and narrow down to something very small at the back. And we might have, she was falling leaves the last time, but still we could start off with sort of random circular blobs like snowflakes maybe for winter. And we can start making them more greeny, where the leaves and the shoots and the blossoms of spring. I might actually put a little bit of pink into this. The blossoms for spring. Now often the positioning of these individual pieces won't really get finally decided until the piece is practically made. But quite like that. Not a lot going on over here that might need. And there might be too many circles, but it's a good basis to start on. Now we need to scale it up to the full 12.5 inches, because allowing for a 1/4 inch seam allowance, that will leave us with a 12-inch finished square. So I'm scaling up now, and you could do it freehand if you're comfortable with that. I often would, to be honest. But if you're a little bit nervous about getting it accurate, and remember, it's your design, so nobody will know whether it's accurate or not. But if you want to be precise, if you like your original sketch and you want to move it up to a bigger size, then you can create a simple grid. I've divided into 4 by 4 in both cases. And what I'm doing is I'm paying special attention to the points at which my curves cross the lines of my grid, and I'm just marking them on the bigger grid, so you can see that that one is more than a 1/4 but not quite a 1/3, so I've tried to estimate that there. It's all done by eye, and then hopefully when I join these dots, I'll have to turn it around to do it in my weird left-handed way, but if I join these dots, I can already see that one's a bit off, but never mind. As I say, it's not vitally important to be really accurate. It's just nice if you have a sketch that you are happy with. You get something that approximates it. And similarly down here, this is the bit that goes off the edge. And, I'm using tracing paper here, not for any particular reason. I just don't have big sheets of ordinary drawing paper in the house. But as long as it's not something really thick like wallpaper, you're grand, because I'll tell you, we're going to use this to applique bits on. This bit's gone a bit wonky, but I can just correct it as I go. Let me see. Well, it's not bad. I think this could do with being a bit fuller down here. And I'm not going to bother at all about my my little circles yet. I'm just going to leave it as it is and start making. And for that stage, the background is going to be made up of stripes of different colours, as in the original wall hanging. And then the swoosh is going to be made up of little scraps of fabric. So I'll start thinking about my background colours now. And if we're going from winter into spring, so say it's winter up here, and we want to end up with spring down here, then I'd like my colours in the background to graduate gently from one to the other. So I might go from blacks and greys down into more vivid blues as more daylight comes in with the spring. So I've been auditioning my fabric collection, and this is the range that I've come up with. So now all I need to do is iron them and cut them. I know I need 12 because I'm going to make 1.5 inch strips, because when they're joined together they'll give us a finished 12-inch block, and I want them to kind of flow smoothly from one into the other. So I'm just going to zoom in if I can, and you can see what I'm at there as regards transitions. Some of these are bluer than they look, so the blue kicks in earlier than it might look on screen. So yeah, now I need to get ironing and cutting, and I'll be back to you in a minute. So this is my array of colours, going from winter greys into, is it grey or is it blue, and gradually down into very spring, fresh blues with a hint even of summer to come. And as I say, I've cut them 1.5 inches wide, but I've actually cut them 14 inches long, even though our finished square is only 12.5 inches, just to allow for any inaccuracies that might creep in. So what we'll do now is we'll join them in pairs and then join the pairs together, and we'll iron in between each. So just to be clear about this, I've grouped my colours into pairs in the same order as they were in, and I'm going to fold one over onto the other in each case, and we'll sew along this side. So just so there's no confusion and to help with alignment, I'm going to put a pin pointing towards the side that I'm going to join them. And then I'll do the same with all of the others. Okay, so finally down to the sewing machine. And as I say, I'm going to speed piece these, but if that's not your bag, you just do them one at a time. I mean, if there's one thing we have at the moment, it's time to do things the way we want to. So my 1/4 inch foot is broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my machine needle as far over to the right as it goes. Maybe not quite the whole way over, 3.0. And then I'm aligning my fabric with the edge of the presser foot. And, oh yeah, I've often talked about the fact that I sew without using a pedal, and this is how I do it. And if I figure out how to speed this up, you'll hear Benny Hill music on the video at this point, and we'll get them all chain pieced very fast. And there we go, that's our 6 pairs sewn together. So now it's time for a little bit of pressing action over at the yarn. Because even during a pandemic, you probably have better things to do with your time than watch me iron, I've skipped ahead to where I have pressed all of these open. But it is worth mentioning, and I'm just going to lean in and show you, that despite having had a few exceptions to this rule during the last few weeks, we are back to ironing to the dark side. Now with some of these, like the two in the middle, it's a bit arbitrary which one is the dark side, but I picked a side and stuck to it. But they're ironed to one side, not butterflied open. And what we're going to do now is simply repeat the process. We're going to put these on top of each other, pin them together, and then sew them again. So that's going to leave us with 3 groups of 4 stripes, and then we can just join one to either side of the middle one. Again, pressing to the dark side. Ooh, there goes the cat. Let me see if I can show her to you. Kiri. Good girl. There she's fluffing up the work nicely. But yeah, 2 more seams and we have the background of our block finished. And that's what you might call the end of the beginning. We've done our design. And then we've scaled it up. And we have created the background for our spring equinox block.